Random thoughts. In this video, I'm going to read part of C.W. Hobley's book, Bantu Beliefs and Magic. And in this part, he's going to tell us about the AGIKUYU age sets. And this is a very interesting part, actually. And he tells us about this after he tells us the process of initiation, the circumcision initiation, because in the AGIKUYU Republic, there were so many initiations. And we can say there was the one that were done like the Kushiaroring, when a child is born or a few days or months later, and then there is the circumcision, and then there are others that will follow until you are very old. So there were very many initiation ceremonies, we can call them, or rites. But he was talking about the circumcision because after you are circumcised, then you are assigned a rika, an age set, or murika, as he calls it. And there were many of them, and he tells us that he did count him and somebody else he called Dudas, something like that, a name like that, that they did a research and they went as far back as 100 years to list all the age sets that had existed among the AGIKUYU. And the age sets were established, or the name was given to an age set based on an activity that happened during that time, during this circumcision of the people or a certain generation. Whatever event happened then, that was taken and given as the name of that age set. But there is a component of the AGIKUYU age set system that is very interesting, that is different from the age systems I've seen in other, especially the Maasai and the Kalenjin. There is a unique component to the AGIKUYU age system or age set system, and I'm going to talk about that at the end of or after I've done with the basics. Now, the basics of it is, he says, Morika or Mhurika, singular, Rika, plural, is the circumcision age or generation and corresponds more or less to the poror among the Maasai. So the Maasai age set is called, or the age set system is called the poror. So the Kikuyu called it Rika. The Rika called Manjiri, Mamba, Manduti, and Chuma were not recognized by either the leaders, who both commenced their account with Chira. Now, he had heard that there are these other age sets, the Manjiri, Mamba, Manduti, and Chuma, which the elders refused to accept that they should be included in the list for some reasons. I don't know why they say they should not be included. And they started from an age set called Chira, which is obviously the name of sharer of Dundas Pepper. Now, Dundas, this other guy who did research about the Kikuyu age set system. And possibly the farther north one goes among the Kikuyu tribe, the farther back to do their legends go. So the Kikuyus of the north had more back history than the Kikuyu of the south. I don't know what that was about the age sets. I don't know what that was about. Then he says the name given to the Morika generally has some topical allusions to an event which occurred during the year and about the time of the circumcision ceremonies. As I said, the names of the age set will be given based on a major event that was happening around. Could be famine, could be a huge fire, forest fire, things. And we're going to see that in some of the age sets. And these allusions are naturally forgotten in course of time, and the derivations in many cases now appear senseless, which makes sense. No one Morika extends over 2 years or 4 Kikuyu seasons called Kimera. So the names, of course, at the time they are given, they had a meaning based on an event that was happening. But over time, maybe 50 years, 100 years, the name will remain of that age set and people will call it that, but many people might not understand why it was called that because the historical event becomes remote. And he says the Rika of the AGIKUYU used to be about 2 years or 4 seasons, as he calls it. And this is more or less the same with the Maasai and the Kalenjin. I think it's almost the same period that one age sets falls into, maybe 2, 3, 4 years. Now, let's look at the age sets. And I need to say again, I'm going to explain something that is very unique about the AGIKUYU age sets. That is different from what I've seen in the age sets of other nations or other republics. And now, as I've said, there were those age sets that he was told, no, don't include them in the list. And then he started from the Chira. There is Mathathi, there is Endemi, there is Iregi and Kiarie and Kamao. All these are said to be grouped as Iregi. Then there is Kinuthia, Karanja, Njuguna, Kinyanjui, Kathuru, Nganga. And he says, under this he gives a note, he says, the fathers of the oldest men alive in the country belong to these ages and are called Maina. So, and we are coming to the minor part. That's where the twist is. And he says, during the time when this document was being written, the oldest men in the land during that time, their fathers were belonged in these groups. Then there is Njoroge, means the orphans. Chief Katonyo is of this Morika. Now, Chief Katonyo seems like to be an individual he talked to or he did interview. He says there is Wainaina, means those who shiver during circumcision ceremony. There is Mungai, means swell faces. There is Ketao, refers to their eating colocasia roots after they were circumcised. There is Nguayanina, those who wore their mother's clothes. I don't know where they needed to wear their mother's clothes, but they were called that. There is Mbugwa or Kuchu, because of the circumcision wound did not heal. There is Muiruri, name of the song they sang at the ceremony that year. There is Muitungu, means smallpox. That means that when they were circumcised, there was a smallpox outbreak. Then there is Kiambudi, called Mwangi, those of the dancing place. There is Kirira or Ngugi, because their fire was on Kenya. Because fire was on Kenya at the time of the circumcision ceremony. So there was fire at the top of Mount Kenya. These old documents, when they say Kenya, they actually mean Mount Kenya, because then the country was not called Kenya. So they just say Kenya, meaning the mountain. There is Mangorio, named after sweet-smelling tree used to decorate the youths after circumcision. There is the Rohanga, named after a girl who had decorated her ears before marriage. There is Wanyoike, because they came one by one, the place of circumcision. There is Boro, the big stomach of a sheep. There is Imburu, the poor people. So these are people who were circumcised when there was a huge famine on the land. So people were poor. There is Ngoraya, there is Kiniti from the song. There is Ingigi, season of the locusts. So the people circumcised during the season of locusts, so they were circumcised during the season of locusts, they were called Ingigi. There is Mutongu, there is Kenjeko, there is Kamande. These people were circumcised during the time of smallpox, probably about 1895. When circumcised, they went to dig potatoes in the field. I don't know why they went to dig potatoes in the field. There is Kamande, time of the caterpillar plague. There is Wanyaregi, the wanderers. I don't know why they were called the wanderers. Most likely, people had to move for some reason. There is Kanyutu, the man eating leopards. There were several about in that year. There were many leopards on the land, and the people circumcised during that time were called Kanyutu. There is the Geni, called Muirigu. This is the name given to the youths themselves to this age. The year of cutting of the iron wire. I don't know what was happening with cutting of the iron wire. They ate gruel made of immature maize. Because there is Kariangara, there is Njege. Of course, there are those notes about each of these age set. And then there is Makio. Now, he provides another table that he said it is a revised table. There were a few changes that he needed to make after interviewing another group of elders. And of course, it's not very much different. There is Shira, Mathati, Endemi, Iregi, Mukuria, Kicharu, Kamao, Kiarie, Kimemia, Kimani, Karanja, Kinudia, Njuguna, Kinyanjui, or Gathuru, Nganga, Njeroge, Ubu, Wainaina, Kangethi, Kitao, Mungai, Injehia, Mairanga, Marite, Wangigi, Ngoyanina, Wakirutu, Maugu, or Kitindiko. Yeah, so it's a little bit different, but not so much. Now, let's come to the twist with the Kikuyu age set system. When you look at the Kalenjin age set system, their names are standard, and it's a cycle. Their names are standard, and it's a cycle. Now, the Kikuyu have also that cycle, but it's a smaller cycle. But then they have this other part where the names are given on the spot, like we are circumcising boys and girls this year, and there's this event that is happening, maybe it's the locust, so we give them the name of the locust. The Kalenjins don't do that. The Kalenjins would have a name on the cycle, and they know automatically that this is going to be the next name, this is going to be the next name. Now, the Kikuyu, they also have that, and I'm going to explain that part, but they have this part of the age set is given a name there, and they will carry that name. And then several age sets that are given names like that, then will be moved to now the cycle one. And the cycle one has only two groups. It has Maina and Mwangi. Only two. Now, Maina and Mwangi alternate. It's Maina, it's Mwangi. It's Maina, it's Mwangi. Now, what happens is during the sittings of the Itwika, which I've explained in another video, which was like the highest government organ of the Agikuyu Republic, several age sets will be grouped together, and then it will be decided these are going to be Mwangi. And then others are grouped together, these are going to be Maina. Now, and something that is interesting about this is that always a grandfather and grandson will be in the same age group. Not exactly like the same, but in terms of the name. The grandfather is Mwangi, the grandchild is Mwangi. It was like that. And the father is Mwangi, the son is Maina. It was like that. So he says, in terms of Maina and Mwangi as the name for the Rika of the last 50 years seem to be fixed as far as one can gather. So he says, Chief Katonyo's father was Maina, Katonyo himself is Mwangi, Katonyo's grandchildren when circumcised become Mwangi, his grandchildren when circumcised become Maina. That is there. So apparently every person when circumcised takes the name of the Morika of his grandfather. That's the cycle. It's not actually a cycle, it's just an alternate. Unlike the Kalenjin, that is a huge cycle. And he explains this further. He says, a leading Kikuyu elder named Lorigi was independently questioned on these matters by Mr. C. Dundas, and this view was as follows. The Adhamaki of the day are practically all Mwangi, and Lorigi himself, who is among the most senior Adhamaki, belongs to Mwangi. Kamiri and a few others are Maina like Mwangi. He attends the councils. The sons of Maina are Mwangi, and the sons of Mwangi are Maina, so that the man always belongs to the same division as his grandfather. Thus, Lorigi's father was Maina, and his sons also belongs to Maina. But Lorigi himself belongs to Mwangi, as his grandson does. It thus comes about that there are two generations of Mwangi and Maina living at the same time, and the younger generation of either is distinguished by the temporary name of Muirungu, plural Irungu. When this becomes elders, they will be called Mwangi or Maina, as the case may be, without the addition of Irungu. So, yeah, so the Akikuyu had this alternate, and these were age groups. But then there were the age sets whose name will be provided based on what was happening around. So yeah, so that's how the Akikuyu age set system worked, at least going by C.W. Hobley's. Of course, he might not be accurate. There might be things that he misunderstood, or this information he was not given, but at least that's what he puts down in his book. Those are my random thoughts.